Hello YouTube, welcome to the stats video for 2021. It's been a bit longer coming than I intended, but unfortunately I've had COVID for the last week, which I'm still getting over, but I'm feeling well enough to attempt to do it now. So let's carry on with the stats and see how we compared to previous years and what we can glean from the data. So let's jump straight into it. So let's start off like we did last year, I think, with the same type of graph that shows the generation by split by inverter for each month of the year for 2021. And the main point of note here is that my shed came online in April. That's when I finally attached some solar panels to it. And so the shed has been contributing to the solar totals from that point onwards. And you can see that the shed's best time of year pretty much was July, which is about what you'd expect, really, middle of the year. And that seems to have been the best overall month of the year for total generation, was around sort of July time. This year was a bit more normal, let's say, compared to the year before, 2020, which we had a load of sun in May, and not much in the sort of normal sunniest months of the year. But this month is a bit more normal. We did get quite a bit in April, which is probably above average, but otherwise that would have been a sort of reasonable curve across there. So yeah, June, July you'd expect to be the best months. And again, I always like to point this out for the vertical solar panels. You can see that they peak around April, and around September you kind of get like a double hump, compared with the roof panels, which get a hump in the center of the year. So the best day for us was the 22nd of April, and we generated 54.5 kilowatt hours on that day. Here is the graph for that day, and the shed was online at that time, so we were generating some power from the shed as well, and that obviously helps to give that total a bit more than it would have had otherwise. So yeah, that's a perfectly sort of sunny day. So we generated just 50.2 kilowatt hours on our best day in 2020. Our best day was the 5th of May. So we got a bit extra generation compared with the best day of the previous year, but obviously we've got the extra roof mounted panels on my shed contributing, so that seems fair. I think that's probably about right. But you know, the best day is again quite early in the year. It's around April time, and this is probably because that's probably when all of the wall and roof panels are all kind of at their best, the best that they can be when the others are also at their best, if I'm explaining that very well. Obviously the roof panels would be better at the peak of summer, but the wall panels would be a lot worse. So this time of year around April is when everything is probably, the combined total is probably around the best. So yeah, that's pretty good. And the worst day for us was on Christmas Day, and I think I mentioned this in my December update. Is Christmas Day was appalling. It was just absolutely nothing. yeah, we generated just a half a kilowatt hour. It's just pathetic. But there you go. It's pretty much around the shortest day of the year, and it's also really grey and dull in the UK. Yes, I suppose it's to be expected. So the worst day in 2020 was around the 21st of December, the shortest day of the year. But even then, we generated 0.8 kilowatt hours. So this Christmas day of this year, just gone, was only 0.5 kilowatt hours. So that's pretty bad, considering technically got even more solar panels than I had in 2020. But a very similar date, only 4 days difference in terms of that, and that's what you'd expect because it's the shortest day of the year. So we generated a total of 7,456.8 kilowatt hours in 2021. It was 7,925 in 2020, and so 2020 was a better year, considering I've got more panels this time. This year, we managed to keep and use 90% of all that power that we generated, meaning that we only exported 10% of it. Now, if we compare this to 2020, it was about 80% that we managed to keep and use, and we exported about 20%. So we've done much better this year in managing to find more places to put that generated power, and this is almost certainly because I've been constantly updating my software and finding more ways for it to trigger things and find places to use the power, but also because we didn't generate quite as much power this year as in previous years. So I think in the year to come, we will try and use even more of that. It'd be nice to get to about 95%, which is what I sort of see on a monthly basis, and that's about the best that I'm ever going to get. So if I can get that up to 95%, that's pretty much the end game. That's as good as it's going to be. But 90% is pretty good going, because that means we managed to use 6,700 kilowatt hours of the power we generated, and if we'd have had to buy that, it would have been a lot of money. So this year we only imported 3,528 kilowatt hours, compared with 2020 where we imported 4,253 kilowatt hours. So we may have generated less, but we also have imported less. So it means that overall we've used less power this year than this past year, rather than in 2020. I'm not sure quite how to account for that. Probably the fact that due to COVID and everything, we've not been traveling very much, and I've been working from home, and so power usage is down. I mean, the car's by far probably the biggest electricity draw we have, so that would make some sense, I guess. In 2021, we made a total of £935.09 from our feed-in FIT payments. This compares with £1,039.93 that we made in 2020. So again, we made less money, and that seems to be consistent with the fact that generation was down. That's what you'd expect for us to make less from it. So overall, still pretty good year. That's almost £1,000 we've made in FIT payments, and then from the energy that we managed to actually use, we generated 90% of what we generated we used. If we'd have had to pay for that electricity that we used, it would have cost us around £1,000 to buy that electricity. So obviously our total saving for 2021 is around, yeah, it's about £2,000, which is about the same as it was in 2020. About £2,000 total saving made. So yeah, pretty good, and a good indication of what solar can get you. Obviously, the FIT payments don't exist anymore, so anyone getting solar now, you will be relying on the savings that you will be making against having to buy that electricity. But you know, that in my case here now, that's about £1,000 that I'm saving by doing that, and you would also get some money back from your feed-in for any electricity you weren't using. You'd get paid for some of that too, and so that would also add on a little bit onto your total. So you'd probably be looking at over £1,000 if you were in a similar position to me a year in terms of savings, and that's obviously only going to increase as the price of electricity goes up. For example, I know that electricity prices are about to go skyrocketing when everybody renews in 2022. I know for a fact that on the Octopus Go tariff, it's going to go from about 15 pence on the daytime rate up to about 30 pence, so it's going to double, and obviously that would mean that you'd be making a saving of around £2,000 in a year. So getting solar, it could definitely make a lot of sense even without FIT payments. So if you have a look at our bills for the year, our electricity bills in total for 2021 came to £346.76, and our gas bill for that year came to £590.11. So the grand total for that is £936.87 for the year. And that is exactly £1.78 different to the amount of money we were paid from our feed-in and FIT payments. So our total energy bill for the entire year was just £1.78. So this is the amount of energy we used in the cars in 2021. So we put 2,170 kilowatt hours into the Leaf and 707 kilowatt hours into the Mitsubishi PHEV. So that equates to about 10,230 miles of range that amount of electricity gets us, and 1,496 kilowatt hours of that came directly from the solar, so that would have cost nothing, and the other 1,381 kilowatt hours would have been from the cheap night rate that you get from Octopus Go, which in 2021 was 5 pence a kilowatt hour. So that would have equated to about £69, meaning the total cost for doing about 10,200 miles was about £69. Now this again just emphasizes the value you get by having an EV, and particularly coupled with a low tariff rate like Octopus Go and having solar. £69 for over 10,000 miles is pretty good. I did a quick rough in my head calculation of what it would cost if you were doing that with a petrol engine car, and you're talking about sort of more than £1,500 worth of petrol to do the same kind of mileage. So yeah, £1,500 versus £69. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? Yeah, and in 2021, I finally managed to recover my original outlay for all of the solar. So I've been keeping tabs on it for I think it's been about 8 years now since I got my first solar panel system fitted, and my first original battery. And I've been keeping tabs of all the money I've been saving and getting back in form of fit payments, etc. And yeah, this year, 2021, was the year when it finally paid back on everything that I'd outlaid originally, and so I'm now in the realms of technically making profit from my solar. Although it's not the reason I did it. I did it purely because I felt like it was the right thing to do, and I enjoyed being self-sufficient, and that to me was worth the outlay. So, but the fact that I have made my money back is obviously very nice, and electricity prices are only going to keep going one way, and that's up. So in the years to come, it's just going to save me more and more and more. Although obviously next year, in 2022, my goal is to get rid of the gas entirely. So my electricity usage in the winter months is going to go up significantly from next year, and so I expect to need even more solar, really, if I can find a way to add some more. So here's a little bit of fun. I thought it would be interesting just to see what I could tease out of my solar data, and so I wrote a quick graph calculation that looks at the earliest time in each day where the solar panels switch on, i.e. the sun's come up, and when they switch off, i.e. when the sun's gone down, and subtract one from the other, and that gives you the total length of daylight for each day. Plot it on a graph, and there you go. You can see that you get this pretty nice curve that shows that days do in fact get longer, and they peak around the middle of the year, and then they get shorter again. So for anyone who didn't believe that days get longer and shorter as we live in the northern hemisphere, there's raw data put into action, so you can see it with your own eyes. The days do in fact get longer and shorter. So that was just a bit of fun. I just thought it'd be quite good to see what we could get out of the data. If you can think of anything else that you think it might be good for me to tease out of my data, then do let me know. Okay, that's it for the stats for 2021. Pretty good year. Not as good as 2020, but not too bad. Things are going to obviously be a lot different next year. There is going to be the fact that I'm going to be gas-free next year, so my electricity use is going to have to go up. But also coupled with that, prices of electricity are going up enormously next year. So it's going to be quite an interesting set of results at the end of 2022. So I think next year's video is going to be quite shocking. But there you go. So that's it. Sorry it took so long, but like I say, I had COVID, so I'm just recovering from that, and it took me a while to get well enough to get out here and do this. But if there's anything else you think you'd like to know from my data, any other stats I could provide that might be useful to people when they're thinking potentially about getting solar or getting an EV, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can tease out the required information from my data set. And do consider getting solar. With the way electricity prices are going to go, I think it would make a lot of sense for you to do that. So I'll leave it at that, and please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all on the first video for 2022. And take care, and I'll see you then. Cheers.